Hello, welcome to today's Put God First 633 episode. We're looking today at the YouVersion Bible app verse of the day. It is from the book of Esther. It's a very known phrase in this verse, used a lot, and we're going to see what God has to say to us this morning. Esther 4, verse 14. For if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place. But thou in thy father's house shall be destroyed. And who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this? This is coming from Mordecai. Mordecai is her adoptive guardian of Queen Esther, who has become the queen in Persia, though she is secretly a Jew. The king doesn't know this. At the time in Persia, there is a lot of animosity towards the Jewish people, which are in Persia after the fall of the kingdom of Israel, and they have been taken captive in there. The king of Persia had been displeased with his first wife, and so he took another wife from the women in the kingdom, and he selected Esther to be his wife. Now, even though she is his wife, nobody, including the queen, is allowed to enter into the king's presence without an invitation, without permission. Anybody who comes in without permission is instantly arrested and put under a charge of execution for disrespecting the office of the king of Persia. And so there's a lot of drama in the story in Esther. Mordecai has come into conflict with a man named Haman. Haman hates the Jews. He is a descendant of the enemies of the Jewish people from back in the time of Israel, from King Saul's time. And he wants to destroy the Jews. God keeps on blessing the Jews, even in captivity in Persia, by blessing Mordecai, by blessing Esther. And so he plots a plan, not knowing that Esther is a Jew, to call for the arrest, the execution of all the Jews in the land. And he gets the king to sign off on this. And this is part of Haman's plan to get revenge on the Jewish people. And he wants to destroy Mordecai. So the news goes about that the king has signed an order for the execution and the genocide of all the Jewish people in the empire of Persia. So Mordecai hears this because he's one of the officials for the king, and he knows that him and his family are going to be executed. So he goes to Esther and he tells Esther, you need to go talk to the king. And she tells him, I can't. He hasn't invited me in. It's been a while since I've seen him. And if I go into his presence without an invitation, unless he extends his staff towards me, he's going to kill me, because even I cannot enter in. And so this is when Mordecai tells her this. For if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, if you stay quiet when your people need you, then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place. He had confidence the Jewish people would continue and persist on. Now, the book of Esther is peculiar because it is the only book in the Bible that doesn't mention the word God. it's in the Bible because you can tell that Mordecai is here believing that God is going to intervene. They just don't mention him, and that's a bit odd of all the books in the Bible here. So, but he believes, Esther, if you don't speak up, then God is going to speak up through somebody else. God is going to intervene somehow. Something is going to happen that God's people are going to be preserved and protected. But thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed. He's telling her, if you don't speak up, you think that you are protecting yourself and your family, but you are literally signing your death sentence. He's telling her, you need to speak up because you're not going to save yourself by staying quiet when you can do something about it. And then he says a very famous verse. He doesn't say it how we think in our heads sometimes, like he tells her, you're here for this reason. He tells her, who knows? He's not exactly sure himself, but he says, who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this? He's literally saying, perhaps this is the reason that God made you queen. Perhaps this is the reason that Vashti, the previous queen, displeased the king so that he would look for another queen so that you would be installed and you would save your people. And he puts this to her and it wakes her up. And she realizes perhaps she was made for a purpose and a mission and a reason. When you think about your life, perhaps you too were born for a mission, a reason, and a purpose. Why were you born in the year that you were born? Why are you still alive today? These are big picture questions. When we're just trying to go to our job, make our paycheck, spend time with our family, go to church, and God is saying, but is there something bigger that I created you for? Is there a place in this world, in this life, that you can make a difference? Sometimes it feels bigger than us, but you have a God that is bigger than you and bigger than your situation. And perhaps God put you in your family, in your job, in your school, in your situation for such a time as this. Let God tell you and define your purpose. Let the Lord give you something more than what you have right now. I believe that God created you with a mission and a purpose. I believe that today you can live that mission and that purpose for which God created you. So when you go to work today, understand, perhaps God created you for such a time as this, or at your family, at your school, wherever you find yourself, perhaps you were created for such a time as this. How will we know? Well, if we put God first, God will show us why we're here. May God bless you. May God keep you in Jesus' name.